Dear learners, welcome to Odisha State Open University. I am Sujit Kumar Mohanty, an assistant professor in journalism and mass communication at Central University of Odisha. In today's lecture, we'll be talking about an important and an interesting piece of legislation known as the Official Secrets Act. Going further into this particular act, let me give you a very quick and a brief background behind the setting up of this piece of legislation. This act came into existence in the year 1923, and if you look at the timeline, it was the period when India was under the British colonial rule, which means that India had still not yet received its political freedom from the masters. We received our freedom in 1947. But what was the purpose of coming out with such a piece of legislation during the British Empire? It was felt during the British Empire that the people, especially the Indians, are slowly revolting against the empire and are indulging in various acts and activities which may be considered a threat to the existence of the British Empire in India. So, in order to control the people involved in these kind of activities and to suppress the people's views and opinions and to suppress the documents which the government would not like the people to be privy to, the British Empire came out with the Official Secrets Act. The act is still in existence today, but it is not being used as frequently as it was used during the British era. But not to say that the act has completely been stopped to be used against the people. There are many instances and cases where this act has been used, or in certain cases I might use the word misused. Let us look at what are the provisions under this particular act, and most importantly, what constitutes an offense under this act and why we as students of communication and media be aware about the provisions of this particular act. According to this act, there is a penalty for spying. Well, in today's world, we are seeing a lot of spy movies. We all like to watch spy movies in the cinema halls. But in reality, if you are caught as a spy of a foreign country trying to take information or leak information to another country, then you might be considered to be in violation of this particular act. So, spying is an offense under this particular act. If you are involved in an act which is considered prejudicial to the safety or interest of the state, then it amounts to a violation of this particular act. Just to give you a small example as to what you might try to leak to the government or spies of other countries or other agencies. Well, it can be a sketch of a government building, a plan, a model, a note, a drawing, a diagram, which may be considered to be a safety issue. So you are not supposed to carry these sort of documents without the permission of the relevant authorities. If you are doing that, then as I have already said, it may amount to an offense under the Official Secrets Act. There is also a provision under this act which says that communication with foreign agents is an evidence of commission of certain offenses. Now, if you are indulging in communication with certain foreign agencies or their members and trying to leak out certain information then that is also considered detrimental to the interest of the nation. Every state, every nation may have their own secrets. And it is not in the best interest of these nations that these secrets are revealed either to the people or especially to agents of other nations or other spying agencies. Another aspect, according to this particular act, talks about wrongful communication or wrong information. So it means that if you are trying to willfully communicate in a password, or you are trying to use the information for the benefit of any foreign power, or you are trying to retain the sketch, plan, model, note, or document, you can be held liable under the Official Secrets Act. Very interestingly, this act also prohibits the use of uniforms. For example, if you are not a police officer, then you are not supposed to impersonate by wearing a false uniform of a police officer and scare the people. If you are not an member of the armed forces, then you are not supposed to wear the dress and scare the people into thinking that you are an officer of the Army, Navy, or Air Force. That amounts to forgery and impersonification. So, having talked about some of the provisions of this particular act, there are certain key issues which also needs to be analyzed in the context of the present society. This act was promulgated in 1923. We are living in 2018. A long time has elapsed in these years. The question is it important for us to have a law based on which the government can deny access to certain information which may be in the larger interest of the public or the society? Time and again, we have seen that many information which has been asked by the people for their development and benefit of the society has been denied by the government or the state, citing this particular piece of legislation. So, it is time for us as scholars of media and communication to understand the intricacies of this particular act and to see whether we as media and communication professionals are in willful violation of this particular act. It is also important for us to establish a connection between the Official Secrets Act and another piece of legislation known as the Right to Information Act. But I'll be talking about the Right to Information Act in one of my other lectures. Thank you.